Welcome into the latest episode of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel, and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. In our Recap studios, that's Ryan McGuffey. That dude right there, my sparring partner, my friend, Gordon Whitmire, on the road covering Major League Baseball. And we are going to go through the first quarter of this century, all Chicago baseball team. And then we'll get the latest on the Cubbies, who are 12 games over 500 at 33-21 as we tape this episode. But from 2000 to 2025, who is the all Chicago baseball team?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's all brought to you by our friends and partners at the Illinois Tollway and their new If Only campaign.
That is right. It is called Slow Down. If only I had slowed down. The Illinois Tollway's new campaign, as Guff said, is called If Only, and it's a powerful reminder that speeding doesn't just put you at risk, it affects everyone on the road. Lives, including yours, depend on it. All right, Gordon, let's start with the all-Chicago team. And you guys want to start with a player, or you want to go to the manager first?
I think the manager's at the end.
This is the 21st century all-Chicago team. 25
Correct.
years.
Correct.
Not one player from each team. It's the best player at each position.
That is correct.
Listen to Mr. White Sox over there thinking he's got some players.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, why don't we start with the number one position, starting pitcher? We can go a lefty and a righty.
You go, Cap. You start us off with which one you want us to go with?
The lefty will be John Lester of the 2016 Chicago Cubs, or look at him shaking his head, or Mark Burley of the Chicago White Sox. It's one of those two dudes.
Actually, no. I mean, you're right. It's one of those two dudes. It's Mark Burley, but the top two are Mark Burley and probably Chris Sale.
Chris Sale, 100% is on the list. You go, Gordon.
So if you're going lefties, I think those are your top three, but Lester's 100%. Third. Burley's got a no-hitter and an additional perfect game. He was the face of that pitching staff. I watched that guy. Let me tell you a story about Mark Burley that puts him over the top for me in terms of intangibles. I was in Minnesota covering the Twins, and I was hanging out with the White Sox writers at a bar on a Saturday night. It was one of those Friday night. It was one of those games where the next day was one of those Gophers night games. So they had to play at 11 a.m. the next day at the Metrodome. And a bunch of guys come out of the back room about closing time, and the White Sox guys say hi to all of them, the White Sox writers. I say, hey, who are those guys? Well, those are the players, including tomorrow's starter, Mark Burley. Mark Burley gave up 7 runs in the first inning the next morning and got the win because he didn't allow another run for the next 6.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, that dude is just a ball player in an old school pitcher's body, man. And all he did was ball. He just threw, he pitched, he knew how to pitch. And, you guys know me. I'm not a fan of either team. I didn't grow up rooting for either team. I'm from a different part of the country. I'm telling you what I saw. Mark Burley's the lefty on this team.
Yeah, go ahead, Cap.
No, I could absolutely co-sign that. I'm not convinced Chris Sale's number 2.
You're out of your mind. Let me give you some numbers on Chris Sale. Yeah. John Lester, by the way, I love John Lester. He's arguably my favorite Cub of all time. And I think right there with Marian Hossa, the most important free agent in the history of Chicago sports. That's not the best player on either side of town.
What did he win?
You like WAR? What did Chris Sale? Chris Sale had a 30.2 WAR in the 7 seasons he was here. John Lester, 12.2. Chris Sale was 74-50 with a 3 even ERA, was a 5-time All-Star, finished top 6 in Cy Young, 5 straight years, top 5, 4 straight years. I'm sorry, I am. John Lester did that once. He was really good. He is as instrumental of the Cubs winning a World Series as anybody. Chris Sale struck out 1,244. John Lester, 940. Mark Burley, though, if we're looking at body of work, again, if it's best player, Gordon, the answer is Chris Sale. If you're talking about the best player. But if you're looking at the guy who represented what it was to be the best for the longest as the left-handed pitcher on this team, Mark Burley's WAR, if you're looking at WAR, 48.9 from 2000 and to current. 161 wins, 4 All-Stars, started 2 All-Star games, 3 Gold Gloves, World Series.
3 Gold Gloves.
3 Gold Gloves.
I've got no problem.
2 no-hitters, a perfect game.
Number one.
He's number one.
I have number one. Chris Sale was wildly talented and had great numbers. I'm not disputing that. I would go Burley, Lester for what he did for that organization, pitching Game 5, coming back in Game 7. I would go Lester 2 and Chris Sale 3.
That's fine. Sale will be wearing, if he goes into the Hall of Fame, he will be wearing a White Sox hat. So I think we're all on the Mark Burley train.
Hall of Fame for Chris Sale?
Gordon.
Hey, no love here for Esteban Loaiza?
He's a righty.
He's a righty.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I was hoping we could get – I was hoping
he's in the Hooskow, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I was hoping to have some loose fun. I was hoping to have some loose fun that Jose Quintana would get some love here since he pitched as a lefty on both sides of town.
Yeah, not going to happen. The only guy that actually likes Quintana as a big game pitcher is that guy right there in the hotel.
Me too.
Jose Quintana's a real deal, man. You and your Buick shit, man, that just ain't right. He's a pitcher. He's a good guy.
Build a column for you in the Sun Times one day.
Yeah, damn right. Called you up and quoted you.
He did.
All right.
So we go with Mark Burley as the lefty in the rotation. How about the best right-hander from 2000 to 2025? Golf started.
Okay.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. So this one is not as slam dunk as – it's not as big with the heavy hitters as the left-handed argument we just had, because Burley, Sale, Lester, you're talking about Hall of Fame type caliber pitchers. The right-handed argument, you have to really put these guys under a microscope. Like for Sox fans who are going to listen to this, Dylan Cease and John Garland are probably where it starts and stops. For the Cubs, though, the two guys that it comes down to, in my opinion, Hendricks, certainly from a longevity standpoint, has to be in the conversation. You talk about that NLCS. Game 7 and the NLCS, those two just by themselves. But you guys, before I started doing the research for this, I'm like, Kyle Hendricks was the name that kind of jumped off the page. Then I put the 6 years of Jake Arrieta under the microscope, and it doesn't look from a longevity standpoint like Kyle Hendricks. But those 3 seasons, man, that 14, 15, 16 run that he had, I mean, the second half is the best of all time. You're talking about Bob Gibson.
Gibson and Koufax, man, that's what that shit looks like. Yeah.
So, this thing comes down to a photo for me, because I love Kyle Hendricks and the story and everything about it. And those 2 games, the 2 biggest games in Cubs franchise history, have Kyle Hendricks as a starting pitcher. In a photo finish, I'm giving it to Jake Arrieta.
Can I go next?
Yeah, go next.
I love the way you put Hendricks in that conversation. I would put him in that conversation exactly the same way, but rather than and I have him second, but I don't have Arrieta first. I've got Zambrano first.
Yes, thank you.
Zambrano was his own worst enemy. We all know that. But this guy had no hit stuff every time he went out there. He was the best pitcher on that 2003 team. And in 2006, he might have won a Cy Young if they hadn't been such a horseshit team. This guy he's got 3 top 5 Cy Young finishes, 125 wins as a Cub, 3.60 ERA, which actually should have been a lot better than that. And 37 plus WAR in his time as a Cub. He He was what they built the rotation around. He was their best pitcher. If not for his own competitive demons, he might have been a champion with that team.
So Carlos Zambrano, in his 11 years as a Cub, had a 37.7 WAR. Kyle Hendricks, same number of years, 22.1. Nobody likes Kyle Hendricks more than this guy. It's not close. It's Carlos Zambrano.
Yeah,
I agree.
So Zambrano is our right-hander.
Yes. Now we'll go to the catching position.
What about a closer? Do we want to do our closer next?
They usually close out the back end of the list.
Well, it's the pitching staff. Okay, that's fine. We'll go catcher.
Now let's go to catcher.
It's a two-man race, easy. I mean, it's just clearly a two-man. Can I go first on this?
Yeah, sure. We're going to catcher.
Okay. The catcher comes down to two guys, one on each side of town. And it's as simple as that.
No doubt.
It's AJ or it's Will.
Giovanni Soto.
Yeah, right.
Joe Girardi for 2 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Your guy. It's AJ or Wilson. And God damn, I am so torn on this one.
Me too.
There are so many great arguments on both sides of this one. And Cap, because we both kind of feel the same way. Like, Wilson's my guy. I love his competitiveness, his honesty, who he is as a person, and what he did for that team. The fact that he came in as a rookie and caught that 5 of those World Series games, he took over as the starter as a rookie for that Cubs team that year that won that championship. I don't know how many people could have done that. And then after the fact, after Rossi retires, he becomes John Lester's personal catcher. For all the crap he took as a defensive catcher, as a receiver, and the whole thing, he becomes John Lester's personal catcher. That said, man, AJ Pierzynski, he was the guy, as Ozzie put it, he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. He got under guys' skin. He was a competitor in every bit as much of a competitor as Wilson was, but in an entirely different way. And dude got Major League Baseball to change a rule because of that play against the Angels in the playoffs.
Yeah, all that's great. AJ Pierzynski was a 12 WAR player.
Oh my! If we're gonna do this shit based off of WAR, I'm leaving. I'm leaving this. If this is only off of WAR, then just tell me. I'll pull up all-time WAR leaders.
And that's like the PGA Hall of Fame. Then you get to make enough money, you're in the Hall of Fame.
I would give it to Wilson Contreras.
For what? What is your basis for Wilson over AJ? Because he just gave a good.
Better defender, better thrower, better WAR number. Yeah. I would go to Wilson Contreras.
Okay, sorry. So the White Sox don't. I think the Cubs win the World Series without Wilson Contreras. I do. I really believe the Cubs win the World Series, whether Wilson Contreras is their catcher in 2016 or not. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The White Sox do not win it. The White Sox
doesn't make him the best catcher in the last 25 years of Chicago baseball.
I'm with Guff on one thing here. You can't do WAR on this position. You can't because there's too many intangibles involved in this.
I'm going to give you some stats here.
Guys,
if we're going to do WAR, okay, 118 homers for AJ, 117 for Contreras, 1,087 hits for AJ in a White Sox uniform, 636 for Wilson Contreras.
Okay, how many walks, Guff? Because AJ never walks.
All right, how about this? How about we do games there, Gordon? How about we do games? 734 for Contreras, 1,068 for AJ. He's 9th all time in games caught by a catcher. That guy didn't believe in, we need a second catcher to play 62 games. That guy manned up, he took the position, and he caught whoever was throwing the baseball to him that day. And he was as important of a culture change for the Chicago White Sox from 05 to 12 as any player in the history of that franchise from a culture position. This, to me, if it's one over the other in terms of what your team represents, AJ Pierzynski is the pick at catcher. This is the Cubs Recap Podcast. We're putting this out on the White Sox too. You guys can walk away and hand the medal to Wilson Contreras. But I'm telling you right now, if you're going to sit here and be, and she's a 20 WAR player, then fuck it, I'm out. Because this is not about WAR. This is about the best This is about the best player at the position on either side of town.
All right.
Some things are intangibles.
Calm down. First of all, you guys in war doesn't apply. It applies to the one guy over there. Second, I never told you which one that I was going for because
You said AJ.
Full disclosure coming in, I hadn't made my choice. I had not made, that's the one position I hadn't made my choice coming in because I was still racking my brain as we went to tape this. You pushed me on the AJ side of this.
Let's go.
Because I agree. You talk about culture change. He got Michael Barrett to punch him in the face. I mean,
oh, whatever.
No, seriously, Cap. And I saw this in Minnesota when he came up. I saw this is who he is. He's an agitator. He's a competitor. And he does answer the bell.
Okay, so if I said to you, you're building a team, you can have either guy there is the same age.
I take AJ Pierzynski.
I'm taking Contreras.
Because I see the finish line. I'm taking AJ Pierzynski. By the way, All-Star. So was Wilson was a 3-time All-Star. AJ, a Silver Slugger Award winner. AJ Pierzynski. He was more than just a guy who played catcher every day for the White Sox. He was a good player.
I think it's very, very close.
It is very close.
I could go either way.
Close.
It's very close.
This would be a 3-pitcher argument on a bar stool.
I could go either way. All right, first base.
Also fun.
Look, Derek Lee was an amazing player for the Chicago Cubs.
Yep.
He's not in the top 3.
Anthony Rizzo.
Did you hear what he just said? He's not in the top 3.
Okay. Anthony Rizzo was a tremendous player for the Cubs, and Paul Konerko was a tremendous player for the White Sox.
However,
when I looked at all the numbers and I weighed everything, Rizzo won a platinum glove. Rizzo won multiple gold gloves. Rizzo was the left-handed difference maker that the Cubs had craved for so very, very long. Rizzo was the face of that team when they won the World Series in 2016. He was
the igniter. He was the ignition when they turned the corner in 2014 when he took on the entire Reds dugout.
That is exactly correct. He was the culture changer for the Chicago Cubs. But when I also look at Derek Lee, wasn't here long enough for me and play at that level. Like, he didn't win the Triple Crown, but he won a batting title and hit a bunch of home runs, drove in a bunch of runs.
He almost won an MVP that year.
He did. And when he went out in 2016 with a broken wrist, that season was over. Team done. Paul Konerko was a hell of a player, man. I don't think he was anywhere near the defender Anthony Rizzo was. But if I have to cast a vote and I can only pick one, I'm taking Paul Konerko.
6-time All-Star, top 6 MVP twice, 2005 ALCS MVP, 408 homers in the 2000s, 41 hits. Paul Konerko is Cap's pick. Gordon, do you want me to go or you want to go?
I'm surprised that we didn't hear the other name that I think you're going to pick, Guff.
Jose Abreu not getting – like Derek Lee shouldn't even be in the same conversation as Jose Abreu.
You're going to talk WAR, Cap, man.
No doubt.
Jose Abreu has 31.3 WAR in the 2000s.
Yeah, he was a very, very, very good player. I could put him third and Derek Lee fourth. No problem.
Abreu's third in your mind?
Oh, yeah. He's not ahead of Rizzo. It's not even a discussion for me.
It's Abreu and Rizzo in a close one. Rizzo gets more credit for the defense and the left-handed bat they built that lineup around, no question. And all the culture change stuff that you talk about, all that's true. But Abreu at an offensive position was an offensive machine. And he did things that the other guys didn't for a longer period of time. I think it's Abreu in a close one over Rizzo. I think it's then Konerko and then D. Lee.
So Abreu, Rookie of the Year, obviously the MVP in the 2020 shortened year, a 3-time Silver Slugger, led the American League in categories in multiple years and different ones. But this one's a tough one for me. I mean, I love Anthony Rizzo. Like this is like the pitchers debate. I talk about like 3 of the best, not just first basemen, but like 3 of the best in the game in the 2000s are the guys we're talking about. You throw D. Lee in the mix. I'm going to go. I'll go with the sentimental pick here, but I really looked at Abreu hard because he's going to be, and he'll be the forgotten guy, which is like hard to believe. You could say Jose Abreu and forgotten guy. And he was supposed to be the guy that led them into that winning, they brought him back to be part of that winning culture. I'm sorry, the winning ways after the first rebuild, and it flatlined. And then his career after he left for Houston, it just kind of fell flat. I'll give it to Konerko. He hit the second most meaningful home run in franchise history behind Scott Pasednik's walk-off. He had hit the grand slam a couple innings prior. The body of work. What do you got over here? 400.
Well, I was going to ask you, are you spit it out here, both of you? Are you guys going to tell me that you would put Abreu over Rizzo?
I have Konerko.
Okay, you have Konerko 1.
I didn't know we were ranking these guys. I didn't come in here with rankings.
But I'm hearing all this love for Jose Abreu.
Well, I put Abreu up there. Look, to me,
Would you put Abreu
over Rizzo? It's Abreu or Rizzo to me.
You put Abreu over Rizzo?
I did put Abreu over Rizzo.
God, that's embarrassing. You're a baseball. You have a vote for the Hall of Fame.
I don't know how that's embarrassing.
I love Rizzo. I love Rizzo and everything he did there, but
I'm not sure how
Rizzo was a better fielder. In less years, he had more WAR as a Cub than Abreu did.
He was a better fielder. That's it.
Yeah, the fielding is
really it.
Look, he had 2 or 3 really good.
What do you mean? Oh my God!
Years. Abreu had a bunch of them. Abreu was the best in his league at a given point. He was
Abreu. More homers, more
303 home runs as a White Sox.
More homers, more RBI, more hits, right? 1445. Yeah, more hits. I'm not sure what's so surprising here.
7 times.
Yeah, I would not put
MVP votes 7 times.
Jose Abreu for me is 3rd or 4th. Derek Lee 3rd or 4th.
Derek Lee even being talked about more than Jose Abreu means we need to move on.
All right, I told you I'm cool with if you want to go with Abreu 3rd. Abreu ahead of Konerko and Rizzo? Stop yourself.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. You saying it's crazy that he's ahead of Anthony Rizzo? I mean, you need to go. I'll get you the right slide to put under the microscope. What's our next position there, buddy?
Wow. We go to second base.
This is a fun one. They're all fun.
Yeah.
I'll go first. You want me to go first here?
Iguchi?
Yeah, let's hear about Tadahito Iguchi.
Well, you jackass. You want to know who my second baseman is? The best of the last 25 years?
Who?
Yeah, I hope you're not going to take my White Sox guy.
Nico Horner is my pick here.
Oh, woohoo!
Nico Horner that's how bad. First of all, there is no White Sox guy. I wanted badly to put Ray Durham. That's
the White Sox guy.
But if this was an argument about 1995 and on, this is the easiest answer of all time.
No question, no doubt.
But there's just not enough, because we're talking about 2000. He was traded halfway through the 2002 season, 2.5 seasons. The fact that I wrote him down here. You see
10.5 WAR in 2.5 seasons.
I know. That's crazy. 10 dude, he's one of the most underrated White Sox of all time.
Who, Sugar Ray Durham?
Sugar Ray Durham. One of the best.
He was one of the
best White Sox players. He's a good player. If we're doing the last 30 years, this is Ray Durham, and we're already moving to shortstop. That's how bad the second baseman. First of all, the White Sox have had 13 straight years of a opening day different second baseman. That's it. This is Nico Horner, and we're going to go WAR. It's an 11-3. We know what he does defensively this year with runners in scoring position. The guy's an absolute machine. It sounds laughable, and sometimes not every guy is going to have a statue or be the face of a rebuild and a champion. Nico Horner's the pick here.
All right. Gordon, you're cool with that?
I'm signing off on that. Yeah. I've always liked Nico. Nico's become even a better player. He's a Gold Glover over there.
Yep.
That's something that, and he could have been, he could have been a Gold Glove finalist at short. He's a legit shortstop option. He's got, over 100 stolen bases. So I'm totally on board with that. I think that everything you just said, Guff, on Nico applies, is right, and he's our guy.
All right. We'll co-sign that one. Shortstop.
I almost, by the way, since we're going to shortstop, I was trying to get a Javi Baez into the conversation since he was second in MVP that year as a second baseman. But this is body. This is a body for me. Shortstop. Who wants to take this one first?
Shortstop for me, it's two guys. It's Tim Anderson and it is Javier Baez. Who do you have ahead of him?
Two guys.
Huh?
Those aren't the two guys.
Who's the two guys?
I have it circled with a very definitive circle. It's Alexei. Yes. Alexei Ramirez.
Over Javi Baez.
The Cuban Missile and Javi are the two, Cap.
Javi Baez.
The Cuban Missile and Javi are the two.
Javi Baez does not have enough games played at shortstop. The year that he had this.
No. Let's back off on that one because that's BS. Here's why. He was always better than Addison Russell.
That's true. That's fair.
And it was Theo Epstein that decided Addison Russell was so worthy of being in the everyday lineup as his shortstop. Madden wanted his guy Javi. Javi was the better shortstop. I think we should just simply consider Javi a shortstop. He did win a Gold Glove there. So even those years at second base, I think we should consider him a shortstop. That said,
I will buy
Alexei Ramirez is the Chicago guy.
Alexei Ramirez, you hear that, Cap? You okay with that?
Putting Alexei at short over Javi? No, I'm not all right with that.
You got to look at the numbers, dude.
I did.
He has. First of all, if you're the WAR guy, Alexei's WAR is higher than Javier Baez as a Chicago Cub.
Well, first of all, I had two sources on this: my right eye and my left eye, and they both told me Javi's a better player than Alexei Ramirez.
Yeah, and then he fell off a cliff. Look how long Alexei did what Alexei did. He's got 109 homers and 135 stolen bases, a couple silver sluggers.
Two silver sluggers, second rookie of the year. He was an all-star. He has over 500 more hits than Javi Baez. And if you want to bring up walks on me this time, this is a good guy to bring it up with because he doesn't walk either. So he's got over 500 more hits.
He's still got a higher on base than Javi.
And he still has a higher on base than Javi. This is a guy that he was there in 2008, right? That was the year the White Sox had the blackout game. He was there for a chunk of time where the White Sox won, but they didn't win to get them to the postseason with the exception of 2008. Dude, Alexei Ramirez this is the pick. I mean, he's the pick here.
Yeah, not
Javi has WARs that are all over the place. He had 2 seasons where he was almost a 7 WAR player, followed by a 0.7, a 2.7, a 1.4.
Alexei say this. Javi is the better player. Javi's the more skilled player.
No doubt.
Alexei Ramirez is the higher performer in their time in Chicago on balance over the time they were there, period. End of story.
We will agree to disagree. Third base.
This one's tough.
This one's tough for me.
It's tough, but there's no White Sox guy.
No, there's no White Sox guy at all. This is,
nope.
I mean,
there's 2 Cubs.
It's 2 Cubs, and it's
Matt Shaw or Miles Mastroboni.
Nick Madrigal.
Oh, baby.
It's got to be either Chris Bryant or Aramis Ramirez.
Yeah, I'm going with KB. He did so much at such an elite freaking level for about 5 years there that just overshadows what Ramy did. And I love what Ramirez did, but KB, man, he was rookie of the year. Next year, he was MVP on that World Series team, 4 All-Star appearances. He had an 886 OPS during his time as a Cub. I mean, you start getting into that 870 to 900 plus, and you're elite, man. And that's what he was then. We all know what happened after that. That's not what this is about. He's the man at third base. First 25 years of this century.
Yeah, I could absolutely co-sign Chris Bryant. It's one of the truly sad stories, the way he fell off the table, whether it was getting traded away from here, not really delivering in San Francisco, and then going to Colorado and just being truly awful.
Easy
with a lot of injury.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Cap. Literally one of the saddest stories of the post-16 Cubs. But my gosh, this gave me an opportunity to go back and look at how good KB was, rather than it's easy now to be like, man, what happened? No. go back and appreciate the way Gordon said it too, with the spotlight on him, with the service time situation in 15, everyone knew dude, this guy represented what him and Rizzo represented what
he was
the next
first real hope that Cubs fans had, that Theo had gotten it right.
From the little Montgomery, the little chopper, that the fact that, it went from Bryant to Rizzo to end the 16 World Series. This is relatively easy. As much as I love Aramis Ramirez as being one of the greater position players on either side of town the last 40 years, which I really believe Aramis is.
Part of one of the greatest trades in the town's history.
1,000%. I mean, 1,000%. Especially because the trade is for Kenny Lofton. Oh, and we'll get this Aramis Ramirez guy.
You got to take his money if you want Lofton. All right, we'll take the $6 million.
Yep.
Now that's a utility guy.
KB for sure. This is KB.
Okay, left field. There's a lot of good candidates here.
Are there?
No, so now
Ian Happ.
So I have
on my list.
Moises Alou.
I have a little bit of a debate with you guys. Like, I think we ought to just go the top 3 outfielders, or maybe center fielder and then 2 corner guys. But if you want to go left, center, right, whatever you guys want to do.
I like the corner, because then for me, it's easy to get a guy that if you're taking an outfielder debate, you would take the guy's name that I want to say over any of these left fielders any day of the week.
Who?
Magler Ordonez.
Yeah, his numbers are outstanding. I looked at him.
I don't know. Maybe Soriano. Soriano and Happ both.
But
Soriano gets unfairly maligned because his contract was so onerous at the end that people don't realize he was a really good player for quite a while.
He was a good player.
He became a good outfielder.
He did.
Do you know what his WAR was?
Dave McKay taught him how to play.
Do you know what his WAR was as a Cub? I'm throwing you right.
How many seasons?
Yes, I do. 8.2. However,
Soriano
minus 6.1 defensively. So his offensive WAR was much better than that. And that said, I think he was underrated defensively. You're right, Cap. Dave McKay taught him how to play left field.
He did.
There was a year that he could have made the case he should have won a Gold Glove if it was just among left fielders.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing left fielders, I have this like Happ Soriano with like a Happ tip to Carlos Lee, because Carlos Lee's early part of his career played left field and obviously wasn't a good defensive left fielder. But boy, could he hit like right there with Alfonso Soriano before he went to Milwaukee in the trade for Pasednik. So I kind of have Happ. Happ is my like golden child, better defender, obviously Gold Gloves, etc.
Wait. Here's the thing about Happ and his defense. And Ian, if you got your coffee podcast overlapping and listening to us or whatever, with all due respect, pal, look, left field is not a Gold Glove position. It simply isn't. It only became one in recent years when they decided to separate the 3 outfield positions in that voting. The fact is, the defensive metrics and your eye test do not call Ian Happ a Gold Glover. What happens is he had one really good year where he made some catches that got some attention. He won a Gold Glove, and I don't know how he won the next 2. Honestly, I just don't. I'm not saying he's a bad outfielder. He's not. But he's not an elite outfielder by any means. And the metrics bear that out as much as my eyes.
All right. So are we doing left field or are we doing corner? Because Magler Ordonez, to me, is definitely one of the corner outfielders.
I would agree.
He's almost an 18 WAR in that time. From 2000 to 2004 with the White Sox, 2 Silver Sluggers, 3 All-Stars, MVP votes in 3 of those years.
Okay, but see, so now we get into the Sammy argument in my mind.
Sammy's definitely the right fielder.
Is the right fielder. 100,000%.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a vote, right? We're all voting on this. Just like when I have a Hall of Fame vote. And I don't vote for guys who I think were juiced up for the Hall of Fame. So am I voting for the juice guys before testing in this case? I don't know.
Yeah,
you got to make a call here.
I did not take the juicing into account on the all Chicago team. I did not. Now, in terms of the Hall of Fame, I've made my stance clear. If you juiced, you're out. You're not getting in the Hall. You're not getting a bust. Our little thing here, who played the best, Sammy Sosa's the right fielder. If we go corner outfielders, I'd put Maglio or Ordonez.
Yep.
I want to hear who you'd put in center.
This one also is by default.
This is by default. I bet I agree with Guff on this. Who do you put in center, Cap?
It's hard to go against Dexter Fowler, but
no, it's not. He played 2 years.
But there was not a lot of great center field play on this team.
There was one guy.
Luis Robert Jr.
Oh, are you kidding? That's not where I was going. I was going with Aaron Rowan.
Luis Robert Jr.
Aaron Rowan's probably the better sentimental pick for sure. What do you mean, Luis Robert Jr.?
Yeah, but he got to play to make our team, don't you?
I'll go Aaron Rowan. I like that. I have Rowan there. Yeah, you got to play. I mean, we like the WAR debate and the awards, which we've been spitting out on every guy, and this guy has WAR and awards.
We talked about other guys Javi's an elite talent, but he's not our shortstop because he didn't do it long enough.
White Sox fans will like this one anyway. They'll take Aaron Rowan 17 days a week over Luis Robert Jr. If you're looking at a guy who got the most out of himself versus a guy who got the least out of himself and had a much higher ceiling, Rowan over Luis Robert every day of the week. One guy will help you win a championship.
Luis Robert's a one-time All-Star. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, what a slam dunk.
Because he doesn't play.
No, I say slam dunk because if you look at over 25 years, and hopefully in 3-4 years, we're talking this is a slam dunk PCA, okay? Mm-hmm. But right now, since 2000, you go to both sides of town, and Gordon, I know you looked at this list. It's a lot of ugly from pretty much across the board, both sides. It's you know what?
Jim Edmonds.
Aaron Rowan, but you said you got to play. He only was over 100 games 3 of those 5 years. I mean, to be honest with you, that's what it's going to be for Luis Robert. He'll hit his 100th game in the theory this year for the 3rd time of his career. But really 04 and 05 is what you're rewarding Rowan what you're giving him this award for.
All right. Well, I've got a wild card to throw in there. What about Jason Hayward? Because he was the starting center fielder.
He was. Multi-time Gold Glover.
Multi-time.
A hell of a speech, but he couldn't hit.
The intangibles are off the charts with this guy. There might not be another outfielder in town the last 25 years that had the intangibles that Jason Hayward brought to the table, Aaron Rowan included. And you talk about a guy that's a winner, a guy that knows what winning looks like, that influences a clubhouse, makes everyone around him better, and can catch the ball if it's within an area code of his glove in both center and right. And he's got the Gold Gloves to back it up. He's a wildly inconsistent hitter, but he's still employed. All that said, he's still employed by teams that are trying to win, and they're platooning him and using him. Look what the Dodgers did with him. So I just think I don't know if there's a place for him in our outfield, but I think he's worth bringing to the discussion.
Yeah, I couldn't find anybody for the 07-08 Cubs. Like Jim Edmonds came over.
Like Jones?
Who?
Jock Jones?
Yeah, you had Jock Jones, Felix P.A., Corey Patterson back in 03 till he got hurt on 4th of July, I believe. And then Kenny Lofton came in. But there wasn't one mainstay.
Here are the Cubs center fielders since 2000. Okay. O. Henry was 2000. Who's it's not Devon White who's White? 2001.
Oh, that's
Rondell White. I'm looking at left field.
Rondell White.
You have Buford, Matthews Jr. Then you had 4 years of
Buford. Who's Buford?
Is that Damon Buford?
Might have been, yeah.
Okay, played 140 games there. Then you had Matthews, obviously Gary Sarge Jr., Patterson till he blew out, Juan Pierre for a year, Jock Jones for a year, Reed Johnson for a year, Fukudome for a year in center, Marlon Byrd. Did I go?
I go?
Tony Campana.
Did I go? Was
David
that to you, Gordon?
That was me. That fucker.
Did I go? David DeJesus, Alcantara, Dexter Fowler for 2, Albert Armora, 3 seasons of him, Ian Happ for a year, Ortega, Talkman, Pete Crow Armstrong.
Pete Crow Armstrong might wind up being the guy.
That's what I said, yeah.
Right, but not yet.
I mean, the White Sox center fielders, it's more stable, but it's very similar to you have Chris Singleton for 3 years, Kenny Lofton for a year, Everett for a year, Rowan for 2, BA for a year, Jerry Owens, BA for 2 more years, Alex Rios, Alejandro De Aza, Adam Eaton for 2, JB Shuck for a year, Adam Engel for 3, and Luis Robert for 6.
My God.
Yep.
All right, we'll go Aaron Rowan there. And Sammy is clearly in right field. Who else would be in there?
Well,
it's Ordonez, I think. If you're good,
I think Ordonez is the other corner. Yeah.
No, we have him in the other corner. But if we had to pick another pure right fielder,
the White Sox are an awful example of that.
It would probably be Seiya Suzuki.
I'd say Jermaine Dye would probably have a.
How about Seiya?
Well, at that point, I'm going with Hayward.
Yeah.
Could do that too. All right, let's go to the bullpen before we wrap this up.
But wait a minute. What about DH?
Oh, I didn't know we were doing DH.
I didn't either. I didn't even think of that because there was no DH in the National League for so long.
One on each side. It's clearly there's one on each side.
Frank Thomas on the White Sox side,
and Kyle Schwarber on the other side.
Yeah.
All right.
Kyle Schwarber missed an entire season and basically made his season debut as a DH in the 2016 World Series and raked.
All right.
For that, I'm going with Kyle Schwarber, and I don't give a damn what you guys say. I love Frank, and he's got better numbers, and even in this century, I'm going with my guy Kyle Schwarber.
All right.
For you White Sox fans, I'll go with the guy that has a statue.
All right, closer. And before we get to the closers, and we'll let Ryan start that.
You talk about another barren position.
Yep. It should be pretty easy, I think.
The Illinois Tollway is the great sponsor of our Cubs and White Sox podcast. Folks, we've all said it before. If only I had slowed down. The Illinois Tollway's new campaign is called If Only, and it's a powerful reminder that speeding doesn't just put you at risk, it affects everyone on the road. Every crash leaves someone wishing they'd done things differently. So please, 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 please take the extra time, slow down, save lives. Lives, including yours, depend on it. Brought to you by the If Only campaign of the Illinois Tollway. All right.
This is easy. This is Bobby Jenks.
It's Bobby Jenks.
It's Bobby Jenks.
It's Bobby Jenks.
He has 140 plus career saves. He was
Hold on a second.
You got 173.
Are you going to say Aroldis Chapman?
No.
Okay, so who are you going to say?
Carlos Marmol.
You know what? I was going to say this, Cap. I was going to make this point. And by the way, you just made the point for Jenks by saying that. Because the point I was going to make is the fact that Carlos Marmol is in a legitimate debate for the best on the Cubs side, it's Bobby Jenks.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's
Carlos Marmol in a run from 2009 through 2012 had, 15, 38, 34, and 20 saves. This dude was dealing. He was filthy.
Yeah, he got MVP votes in 2007. And you know why? Because I put him at 10th.
Because he was
You're the guy?
hittable.
I'm the guy that put him at 10th on the ballot because when they made the switch to him and they barely got into the playoffs that year.
Here it is, 07, MVP, 26th. And in 08, he went to the All-Star game.
Yeah. But that's all he did. And he began to decline immediately after that. Even when he put up numbers over the course of a season, he was on the decline.
Guys, this is not that hard. We're talking too long.
It's Bobby Jenks.
173 career saves. He's second.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's second all time on the White Sox saves list, and he got the final out of the 2005 World Series. Ball
as a rookie.
As a rookie. Third closer.
4 for 4 in save opportunities that postseason.
All right, before we wrap this up.
The Cubs can't find one guy to go 2 for 4 in a regular season now.
Who's the manager?
Well, wait a minute. But before that, I want to make one more point on the closer. The Cubs have had such a shitty run with their bullpen and closers that in this century, you could make the case that Pedro Strop was their best reliever.
He's my setup guy. If I was doing a setup guy for both teams, it's definitely Pedro
was amazing.
Strop.
And he was a backup closer for a while and actually did a good job.
All right, let's go to who is the manager.
This is fun, isn't it? Because there's 3 Hall of Famers on the Cubs side.
Dusty, Madden, and Lou.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Ozzie Guillen, or are we going to pretend that doesn't exist?
No, he just said
Ozzie might be the man. And Ozzie might be the man.
I have it either Ozzie or Joe Madden.
Yeah, those are the two for me. I mean, they have to.
That's the case. I think
they have. You guys, they have to be. Each one was brought here to do what Joe did.
No doubt. Yeah. And as much as we want to, if we want to get into the weeds on game management, which wasn't Joe's strength, the fact that he did what he did with young players in his career is the reason they got there. All those guys that had success right out of the gate, that's why they got there. But all that said, I total package manager, I got to go with Ozzie.
That makes two of us. I got to go with Ozzie Guillen.
You know where I'm going. Because
Joe Madden.
Two different. Well, no, I love Joe. I think Joe, for all the people who complain about the Cubs won in spite of him. I'm going, really? They were down 3-1 in the World Series. And when they lost game 4 on Halloween, you know what he told the day before Halloween? He told his players, you know what, guys? Tomorrow, you're not coming to the park. You're trick-or-treating with your kids, and we'll take a late flight to Cleveland, and we'll worry about game 6 on that day. Okay? That was game 5. Game 5. We'll worry about game 5. You guys I'll come and do the media thing. You guys are staying home. We're not doing a workout. Go trick-or-treating, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because they played Friday, Saturday, Sunday games.
Yep.
3, 4, 5.
Monday was Halloween.
And
the off day was Halloween, right?
Yes. And that's not why they won the World Series. It's a small example. It's to that guy understanding the situation.
Correct.
Just like Ozzie Guillen, when 15-game lead went like this, and every reporter in town and the national media started hopping on board going, oh boy, what's it going to be like for this team when they shit the bed? And what did that guy do? Defer. You want to talk to someone? You talk to me. And what happened? The White Sox, Grady Sizemore dropped a fly ball in Kansas City. They won 6 straight games to end the season, and they're the best team all time in the postseason with the Yankees. They went 17-1 the last 18 games in that run. 17-1.
Yeah, and I remember Jim Hendry calling me and said, I was listening to you guys talk about Ozzie all year. I never was sure he was the guy. And when I watched him pull the nose up and win the World Series, I went, that guy can work for me anytime.
Yep.
I'll tell you one more thing on Ozzie. Back when the Marlins won the championship in 2003, and he was a coach on that team.
Yep.
We talked to the reporters down there, buddies of mine. They said a big reason that they won was Ozzie. I said, what are you talking about? He says, Ozzie was the guy that would go in the clubhouse before games, and he was a coalition builder. He was a guy that got along, gave shit to everybody in every corner. There were no cliques in that clubhouse because of Ozzie and his personality and the way he brought everybody together from all backgrounds. And when I watch what he did in Chicago, I see the same characteristic, the same culture in that clubhouse. And I think that is a very powerful thing in a 162 game sport, a game a day season.
And it still translates to this day because we worked with him for all those years. And Gordon, you worked with him too, being at old NBC. Guys today walk up to Ozzie Guillen during BP from opposing teams and give him the biggest bear hug in the world. Yeah. Because that still translates and resonates.
He's legit, man.
To this day. And you made me think of, I thought Davey Martinez was that for Joe. Davey Martinez had a really good feel of that clubhouse and understood when to rile a guy up and when to pull back, et cetera. But the Cubs won the World Series for a lot of reasons. Joe Madden was as big of a reason.
He was a huge part of this whole deal. He doesn't get enough credit. All right, Gordon. Have a great rest of your day, man.
That was fun.
We were going to get into a little bit of the Cubs stuff, but we'll talk about it again next week.
Did we come up with a list? I mean, do we have a consensus
we have a list.
Yeah, Mark Burley and Carlos Zambrano are the 2 starters. Perzinski is the catcher.
Much to your chagrin.
Not
necessarily. I kind of co-signed that. Konerko over Rizzo at first. Nico Horner.
Because I voted for Ray.
Yeah, Abreu was third.
I voted for Konerko. You voted for Konerko.
Nico Horner at second. Javi Baez at short.
No.
Over
it was Alexi.
Alexi.
No, we voted two out of three said Alexi.
That's a horrible selection.
That is not a.
Listen to you rewriting history after 40 minutes.
Chris Bryant at third.
Yes.
The outfield is Ordonez, Rowan, and Sosa. The DHs are Thomas and Schwarber, righty-lefty. The closer, Bobby Jenks. The manager, Ozzie Guillen.
You okay? There's a lot of White Sox on that card.
A little too much White Sox on there.
Hey, for the record, I know 16, and I don't care if you crap on me, Cubs fans listening to this. You guys did 1 in 16. You were really bad for like 20 years of those 25, and so were the White Sox. So this is what you get. For 25, you throw all in a blender. Both teams have struggled for a long, long time, and they had very small windows of success. And here are the players that came out of it. That's the way I look at this.
And there's no doubt there was more pressure to win on the 2016 Cubs than there was on the 05 White Sox.
The 05 White Sox came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. The 2016 Cubs started the season, embraced the target. Remember?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I also remember that they were the odds-on favorite in Vegas, and 6 teams in the National League were tanking. So they had a wide open path to get to 103 wins.
You know what? You're just so out to lunch.
Hey, it worked for them.
They still have to win.
They still have to win.
Still have to win, Gordon. How'd your hometown Mariners do? Hey, have a great.
Where did that come from, man?
Have a great rest of your day. For Guff, for Gordon, I'm Cap. That is our Cubs Recap Podcast presentation of our Recap YouTube channel, brought to you everywhere where you get your audio podcast, and it's proudly presented by the Illinois Tollways Slow Down Campaign. If only, please, we beg you, slow down. We need you around so we can continue these great debates. Take that.